Petro wasn't inciting action in the way that like an American diplomat that's actually a CIA agent tries to invoke like a color revolution or whatever. He just straight up was acting as the head of state, recognizing right from wrong, and also telling American soldiers that they don't have a duty to obey orders if those orders are unlawful. Anyway, I'm not going to watch the entire Petro speech, but he's been going boss mode and beast mode. If we're keeping it a $150 here, we're keeping it real. He is my goat, my small king, okay? My short king. And he went maybe a little too beast mode, as a matter of fact. So much so that he got his visa revoked by the Department of Homeland Security, which is interesting. I mean, he's here for the United Nations. Like, I don't think you can do the United Nations if you're just going to be like, hey, sorry, the things that you're saying as a world leader at the UN, we don't actually appreciate, so we're just going to kick you out. Like, that's kind of wild. That's a wild thing to do. And it's also additionally wild because they won't exercise his power on Benjamin Netanyahu. America is supposed to be the leader of the free world, right? And there are these institutions that we have designed, that we've played a formative role in the design of, and the enforcement mechanisms that we control, that we just refuse to actually abide by, specifically when it comes to Israel, right? And it's been a rather interesting thing to watch. Anyway, here is my GOAT, Colombia president, just going nutty mode. Let's take a look.
Se responde hablando. Se responde saliendo a la calle y cada vez más se responde con armas.
We have to answer in the streets. We have the answer with the words. And we have the...
Los neonazis genocidas deben ser juzgados hoy. I don't know what that means, but
answer with the weapons.
Sounds good to me.
Y por tanto hay que configurar un ejército más poderoso que el de los Estados Unidos y Israel juntos.
That's why we need to create an army bigger than the army of Israel plus the army of USA.
No tengo nada contra el pueblo judío ni contra el pueblo de Israel. Varios son amigos míos.
I don't have anything against the Jew people or against the Israeli people. Some of them are my friends.
Pero igual nos entrenamos muy jóvenes con combatientes de la Organización Liberal Palestina en los desiertos de Libia y sabemos de su lucha desde hace mucho tiempo, cuando existía el movimiento 19 de abril que fue solidario con Palestina, con el Congreso Nacional Africano, con el Frente Polisario siempre.
We received a training with the Palestinian Liberation Organization years ago. We were part of the M19, a guerrilla movement in Colombia. We were solidarity with the Polisario Front and another struggles.
Y por eso hice la siguiente propuesta. Por Asamblea General de los Pueblos en las Naciones Unidas, vamos a presentar una resolución que diga que se ordena a las Naciones Unidas la configuración de un ejército de la salvación del mundo que tiene como primera tarea liberar a Palestina.
Oh, come on. We skipped the last part. Anyway, he said we need to create an army. One of the high notes in this is, and yes, Roger Waters was there in the corner as well, right behind him. My goats. We need to create an army bigger than Israel's, and we have to respond with a war, he said. And I think that's beast mode, okay? That's beast mode. Listen, some people are out there unafraid to raise the temperature a little bit on this issue, and it's good because it will, as I've said, make the liberal side that is reluctant to even talk about these sorts of things a little bit more like this kind of stuff, this kind of language, while many people will say is crazy, right? It's radical, but it's good because it urges people to, it gets people to recognize the urgency. That's number one. it expands the permission structure, number two. And last but not least, it makes the quiet people actually come out and at the very least say something. You know, for those who are on the streets that are talking about Israel, that simply stay at this is Benjamin Netanyahu's war, they now have to push further to the left and say, this isn't just Benjamin Netanyahu's war, this is Israel's war. For those who recognize that the Israeli society broadly is perfectly on board with this kind of sentiment, they now have to reckon with the reality that perhaps this is a matter of Zionism being a fascist ideology. And for those who recognize that Zionism is a fascist ideology, well, for them, this gives them the courage to take direct action. So usually that's how it works. It ranges from people like myself all the way down to like hanger-ons who are maybe even worried about their careers, like Jennifer Lawrence. This doesn't mean that there is going to be actual military intervention in Israel. Obviously, it's a nuclear armed state. That's not happening anytime soon, right? But when you have more people demanding, it causes America to also recalculate. Recalculate is its allegiances, especially when the middle moves to the left because of the courage that they receive. There is never a moment where someone sees someone so radical, right, and goes, okay, these guys are too crazy for me. I'm out. I'm actually pro-Israel now. It doesn't work that way. That's what a lot of people think because they're already pro-Israel. They're just too ashamed of admitting it. Okay? Anyway, this was funny, though. Earlier today, Colombian President Petro stood on a New York City street and urged U.S. soldiers to disobey orders and incite violence. We will revoke Petro's visa due to his reckless and incendiary actions. Whoa, buddy, Seamus says. You're not allowed to go to other countries and incite their people to action. Only American diplomats can do that. And not only that, but also, I don't even think this is a one-to-one comparison with what Petro was doing. Petro wasn't inciting action in the way that like an American diplomat that's actually a CIA agent tries to invoke like a color revolution or whatever. He just straight up was acting as the head of state, recognizing right from wrong, and also telling American soldiers that they don't have a duty to obey orders if those orders are unlawful. That is the truth. That is a part of the American rule book, by the way. For those of you who do not know, and I'm sure there's plenty of military members in here, active duty and former veterans as well, you literally don't have to follow rules that are illegal, okay? They will court-martial you. You will lose your job. You might even be thrown in prison for an extended period of time. But once the legal process goes through, you will be found totally innocent. Like if your commanding officer issues an unlawful order, you have no obligation to follow through on it. Like, for example, if tomorrow, former veterans, yeah, you know what I mean, former active duty veterans, okay, shut up. If tomorrow, let's say Pete Kegstand calls all the generals over and he gives them this like incredible speech and he tells them, you don't have to do this thing, you go to jail. Wait, what? No. I'm saying in the worst instance, like you get court-martialed, you might even be jailed for a brief period of time, but it's still better than participating in a genocide, for example. And many people have done that. Also, anyway, Pete Kegstand brings all the generals over, let's say, and he's like, we're going to do the Crusades. Look at my tattoo. Isn't it cool? We're warrior culture, you know? And then he's like, we're going to war for Israel. If your commanding officers also lead you to do that and you say, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not following this order, especially by the numbers. If you did like an officer's mutiny or something, like, yes, initially you will be, in the interim, you might get criminal punishments within the military courts, but it's far better for you to disobey in advance than to participate in it. It's morally right, and history will absolve you. History will vindicate you 100%. Yeah, it's And also, there is at least some semblance of fairness in the legal structure that exists. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in the rules, you know? Yeah. Military oath is to obey all lawful orders. Disobedience of illegal orders are a part of that oath, okay? You are under no obligation to obey an unlawful order. Remember that. 100%. Military personnel, and I will repeat this over and over again. Military personnel are not required to follow illegal orders. Okay? The United States boldly broke with the ancient military custom of swearing loyalty to a leader. Article 6 required that American officers thereafter swear loyalty to our basic law, the Constitution. While many other nations have suffered military coups, the United States never has. Our American Code of Military Obedience requires that, should orders in the law ever conflict, our officers must obey the law. Many other nations have adopted our principle of loyalty to the basic law. What makes an order illegal? I don't know. Go kill these like children prisoners of war. That is an unlawful order. You are under no obligation to follow said order. That's it. That's a huge thing in the U.S. military, by the way. I mean, you'll still get punished for it in the interim, but it won't be permanent. Just something to remember for many of you. And before people say easier said than done, dog, you're already in the military. What do you mean? Your life is already dog shit. Okay, you get thrown in the brig for like a couple weeks maximum, okay? Unless they execute you, no, that's not how this works. So, oh no, dude. Like, yeah, there is a due process as it stands, okay? I'm saying worst case scenario, it's still better than mutilating children. The point is, when you're in the military, you already exhibit a level of courage, right? You signed on to do battle. You signed on and you signed up to potentially get shot at, okay? So you already have like a pre-existing level of courage built in to the structure of the military that you have to basically abide by, in which case it should be a much easier decision to just be like, at worst, I can go to prison for a little bit. What you saying? The U.S. military won't you disobedient people just don't go to the military, Unc? Dog, that's my first position first and foremost. I'm just simply speaking to the people that are already in. I feel like that's pretty clear, don't you think? This has never been and never will be one of those leftist communities that says automatically if you're active duty, if you're in the military, this is a troop exploder stream, that type of shit. Like, I don't do that. I've never done that, and I will never do that. I think it's probably side of like automatically shitting on religion. I would say that's the second dumbest way to organize. Okay? There's two things that I think leftist groups do with regular frequency that is not only incredibly off-putting, but is also really bad for bringing larger numbers to a cause. And it is, one, like I shit military. Of course, I'm an anti-imperialist. But having said that, I don't immediately assume that just because someone's a veteran, they're a dog shit, war criminal, monster, whatever. And I think leftists should not do that either. Especially because, dude, you have to, no matter what happens, you have to understand, especially if you are already in the United States of America, like our starting position is endlessly hypocritical, endlessly fortunate, as opposed to someone in the fucking global South. And therefore, especially when you got a dude who's like from a poor family or whatever, because I've met so many fucking veterans who have radical politics now, radical leftist politics, who are anti-war veterans, who have seen it in action, who have participated in these acts of violence, who are destroyed by it, and then realize that this was all for naught, and spend every waking moment fighting against that to ensure others don't fall into the same trap. But our starting position is already so fortunate that, like, it's a little bit hypocritical for us to automatically go, well, I didn't have to go. You know, I didn't ever feel the need, or I didn't actually get duped or something. So I'm better than you. I'm morally better than you. As long as someone's current opinions are in the correct direction, as long as someone is leading with empathy first politics, and they are trying to offer some kind of restitution for what they've done in the past, then it's, I don't have a problem with that. Vincente, thank you for the 5 get the subs. Especially because you are quite literally fucking, you don't, listen, you're literally dropping a massive, massive opportunity when you do that, okay? Like, other veterans in this community will probably agree with this, but like, think about it. A bunch of dumb fuck dickheads from like Iowa that have never thought about anything, that have never had any sort of organizational structure in their lives, all of a sudden are due to the poverty draft or due to one reason or another, finding themselves in this like massive fucking jobs program. And in the aftermath of like all of the like the basic training and the actions that they engage in, especially if they go on tour, if they're active duty, they come back and they're like, this shit sucks. That's an opportunity ripe for radicalization in the appropriate direction, as opposed to just being like, you're a war criminal, fuck you, In any case, it doesn't matter. Many of the people are just on the logistics sides anyway. It's just like a fucking massive jobs program. I wish that it was a jobs program that focused on building bridges and shit instead of just, murdering children. But regardless, when a lot of people are in this system, it opens their eyes up to said reality.
What motivated?
Here, yeah, this is the type of shit I'm talking about. I just don't think it's like a smart strategic decision to automatically oppose people. But that's just not who I am anyway. Like, when I see someone from Israel, I don't immediately assume that they're going to be like super invested, hyper Zionist. I just don't. Until people show you who they are, don't make any assumptions. That's the appropriate thing to do.
Did you to enlist?
Poverty. I joined the Army because of poverty. The number one recruitment tool of the United States military is to go to...
Have you not seen the polls? I have. It still doesn't matter. I never will, and I will never do that. It doesn't matter. I have seen it. Overwhelming majority of Jewish Israelis fucking love what Israel's doing, okay, in Gaza. And still, I'm not going to automatically start with that. Okay? I'm not going to automatically start with that assumption. Obviously, you can very quickly fucking figure it out. Yeah, remember what Norm said about his parents? Not the same, of course, but about Germans? Yeah, I know. Except even in that conversation, Norm Finkelstein understands that like it's kind of fucked up that his parents feel that way. It's more so an understanding of what they've gone through. You do realize that, right? Because in that story that he describes, he's talking about a German friend of his that he is bringing home to his parents. Like, the point is, it's still not the best idea to automatically assume that that someone that you're talking to, even from an in-group that's like overwhelmingly in favor of this like incredibly fucked up thing, you shouldn't have your starting position be this assumption. And there are obviously going to be instances where that leads to that unwinds and leads to failure down the line. I mean, come on, that. I'm just giving you my perspective. You can tell me that you can sit here and explain to me how combative you are to every single person, but I think it's important not to be that way, especially because it's good to always operate under the assumption that you can change people's minds by communicating with them, by getting them to understand your worldview. And that's how you bring more reliable allies on your side.
Impoverished areas and offer things that America doesn't offer you, like healthcare, housing, income, stability. We offer our soldiers socialism to go abroad and defend capitalism. And I was too poor to say no. I was in the Army from 2001 to 2014, served in Iraq and Afghanistan, both theaters. I got out of the military 7 years short of a 20-year career, and that doesn't happen that much. And the reason I did is because the longer I was in the military and the more I saw what America did abroad and what we were really, our true motivations were, it made me realize that America was not on the right path. And, you know, I would talk to Iraqis and say, hey, why do you hate America so much? And they would say, you know, you invaded our country, you blew our neighborhoods up. Started realizing, shit, maybe we're the bad guys. So, you know, coming back home.
Like, the easiest thing to say to this guy is to basically be like, huh, wow, well, I didn't have to join the military to see that. Fuck you, right? I think, I mean this sincerely. I think it's because I'm fucking Turkish and not from, like, I didn't grow up in America that I don't have such a hardline stance on people like this. I don't know. Like, people in America will oftentimes be like, well, tell that to a guy who was victim to this kind of violence. Like, tell that to a Iraqi person. But I feel like people over there are way more chill about, like, even veterans that have done horrible shit that, like, understand that it was fucked up and are actually actively working against it. You know what I mean? It's more so like the more like aggro stance often comes from like Americans that want to feel a sense of like moral superiority. It's at the heart of like purity politics in some ways. It masquerades as like an act of self-defense and solidarity, but dude, I can't believe it. Someone came in and did this shit. That's so funny. Remember we were talking about this earlier? Like some dude tuned in on mobile and at that time I had 6K viewers when he first tuned in. So like almost an hour ago. He tuned in almost an hour ago. Waited for like, holy shit, I'm kidding, Lamau. Oh, okay. All right. Well, some people do that unironically. The thing is, if you're American and haven't joined the military, you're still profiting off the military actions and still complicit. I mean, that's irrelevant. That's not even the point I'm making. The point I'm making is, yeah, people do fucked up shit. You have to focus on rehabilitation. You have to always, as your first principle, you have to believe that people have the capacity to change and learn from their actions and demonstrate the capacity to change. You have to give them the space to be able to do so. And it certainly requires a level of acceptance that I think a lot of Americans just don't have. They're so draconian. Cancel culture is a part of it. Purity politics is a part of it. And it also even extends all the way to our criminal justice system. Like, as someone who believes in criminal justice reform, I'm firmly committed to this cause that people, no matter how heinous their crimes may be, especially if they're a product of the system that they were born into, that they have the capacity to change. That's it.
Getting off the Kool-Aid and realizing what my country really is, which is a place where white supremacy has never been held accountable. White supremacy is the root of this whole thing, and it's never been held accountable. There's never been a time where we corrected the wrongs of white supremacy. And so we're taught from a young age to put our hand over our heart and declare our allegiance to a flag, but that flag never declares its allegiance back. In a relationship where love is only sent one way, that's toxic. If my own child was in a relationship and they loved their significant other, but their significant other ignored them, wouldn't provide them housing, wouldn't take them to the hospital when they were sick, wouldn't feed them when they were hungry, wouldn't let them in when they were cold, then I would tell my child to get the hell out of this toxic relationship. But yet here in America, we're told to stay in that relationship because that's patriotism. Patriotism is demanding better of your country. And where we're at now is where America was always heading because we chose not to hold white supremacy to account and because we chose not to provide the most basic needs of a society.
Iraqi Wizard says, I've spoken to soldiers when I was young. Most literally said they regret their choice or how they felt bad that America is invading. I always found it odd how honest some of them were. Yeah, dude. I mean, obviously, you're still the primary victim in that situation. Because that motherfucker's there and he's got a gun, you know what I mean? And he can kill you and get away with it. So obviously it's ridiculous, but yeah. Check logs. Good story about meeting an Israeli. I was out flying from Palestine. An Israeli showed up and told me he was Israeli, and I immediately thought I'd get abused by him. And we proceeded to have a convo about how fucked up the IDF does, and he regrets what he did. I tried to get him into activism. He wasn't really up for it, but I'm glad that I gave him a chance. Yeah, this isn't Jewish exceptionalism before people fucking freak out, okay? This is understanding. This is a bit helps. Always remember that, okay? It's quite difficult to go up against these incredibly cruel systems that have been designed to normalize this kind of violence, okay? There's no recognition from politicians. There's no real democratic process. If you understand that, then you understand that in order for change to happen, you need every person you can get on board. You just got to chip away at it every single day. That's why I don't immediately cast people aside. Obviously, that doesn't mean I'm going to be a sucker, right? Like, this charitability doesn't extend to people who are malicious actors. It doesn't. But I do have to, I wait a little bit to read the room, to see how someone behaves. This is, Hasan, you sound so scared of your chat. This is one of my favorite idiotic terms that I hear in the chat. It's like, I yell at my chat all the fucking time, dumbass. Shut the fuck up. There has never been a moment where it's not my way or the highway. Like, people come in here and they go, oh, you're fucking worried about how your community is going to react if you say something or do something. It's like, no, I'm not. That's why there's unlimited clip compilations of me fucking yelling at people who are woke of the day, for example. Doing it right now, as a matter of fact.
And so when this is over, we can't go back to the status quo.
Anyway, just we took a sidestep there, but just a reminder, if you're active duty, you have no obligation to follow an unlawful order. It is literally something that you do not have to do. Anyway, Sam Husseini, my goat, he is a journalist. He says, Petro's speech is getting far too little attention, including in the left media. It was deeply humanistic. Here's one component from the speech. Let's take a look. He says, there's no superior race. There is no chosen people of God. It is neither the United States nor Israel. The chosen people of God is all of humanity. That's what he said. For every one soldier, there's like this. There's like four like this that brag about fucking kicking kids in Afghanistan. The first time Fred kicked a kid in Afghanistan, he pointed an imaginary AK at me. No chocolate for him. Wait, what? Yeah, bro, there's fucking psychos. Remember, dude, chatter. Remember, this is the American military we're speaking of, okay? Which means it's going to be very diverse, and it is going to have a multitude of different opinions, okay, within each person who's serving. And there's gonna be some fucking freaks, dude. Of course. I never said that there aren't motherfucking freaks. Yeah, there's degrees to this shit. That's why I don't have a issue shitting on veterans, okay? This is something I talk about all the time. On the one hand, like I said, I don't automatically assume that just because someone's a veteran that they're like a fucking war criminal, monstrous piece of shit and their worldview is awful or whatever. But I also don't do the opposite either. Because on the opposite end of the spectrum, you got those who just do that like aesthetic posturing where it's like, thank you for your service, sir. Thank you for defending my free speech. Like, I don't do any of that shit either. Okay? I don't do any of that shit either. You know this. I mean, there's one veteran with an eye patch that I talked big shit about, if you recall, in a very famous incident that got me in a lot of trouble at the time, okay? Calm down. You just got to treat people like people, okay? That's my point. My point is, no, not Big Boss, not my goat, not Iroquois Pliskin, Big Boss, Snake. I'm talking about the loser with the eye patch. I would never talk shit on Big Boss, okay? Hasan was a Trump supporting idiot, and I checked out your content out of pure curiosity, and now I'm the loudest Marxist-Leninist in my family. Thanks, King. Hell yeah. Did you see Theo Von say Free Palestine? Theo Von's been saying Free Palestine, bro. Iroquois Pliskin is his son. Yes. Solid Snake. I was born in Israel. I served in the army, and only a few months before 7/10, I started watching your stream. It was only thanks to you I changed my mind and became an anti-Zionist. See, there you go.